Hey guys, good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. We have got lots of things going on over here, just tons of different things, a lot of new stuff coming up down the line that we want to share with you. Today's going to be a pretty quick video, just some tips on questions that I get a lot. Apologize for the sound outside. It's raining here pretty good right now, so hopefully we don't have too much background noise. So I had a question the other day that was specifically about the material, and I've always said that if you're using a board that has a cup to it, you want to use a board that's got the cup, you've got the crown on the face of the sign. So here's a board. This would be, if I was picking this board out, I would want this as my surface and not this. Now, looking at the surface of the board, this one is much smoother. That one, this is a piece of fencing, but I think this is actually redwood fencing, because I can get redwood fencing. They start at Lowe's, they started carrying some redwood fencing, whereas before they only carried cedar, but for the last year or so they've carried redwood. So if I was picking this board out and I was going to make a sign out of it, I definitely would sand this side down. I wouldn't want to carve on it with it rough the way it is here, splinters in my hands, and the router base would kind of catch on that stuff. So I've got lots of notes here that I want to go over, not in any particular order. I'm just going to try and hit any reason why tips on what side to pick and some other areas too. So why don't we use the cup going this way? The main reason is that if you're carving a sign, I'm hoping that at some point here, if you're carving a sign right now, the base here and the base here are hitting wood, but you've got a space underneath. So as you move that base, you're going to be catching here and here. And I don't want any obstruction on being able to follow that line. And that would be definitely an obstruction. And especially another thing to make sure of, if you get a base plate from us, that's fine if you get a base, because we put a slight chamfer on here. But if you don't have that, if you've got a base plate, I don't have one here, but if you've got a base plate that does not have a chamfer on the edge of it, then you're more likely to catch stuff on the board itself. So what I would suggest, whatever base plate you're using, what I would suggest is make sure you've got a nice chamfer or round over edge, so you don't have a sharp edge that's going to catch something on that board. That's another thing. What I've been using lately is the paste wax for sliding smooth. I've been using this paste wax. Before, I had always used silicone spray. Either one works. I like the paste wax a little bit better, and this will probably last me 4 years, whereas this wouldn't even be close to that. So I like the paste wax better. I got that idea actually from Izzy Swan. Actually, I put that on a lot of my stuff. I put that on my jointers, on my planers, on a lot of stuff. This paste wax works really, really well. So that is the reason that I always use. So again, if I was picking out this board, I would go ahead and sand this off and make this the back of my sign, this the front of my sign, so that router base on this side, that router base is just going to follow that contour, and you're not going to have any catching of the edge of that base plate. So that's one of them. Another thing that you want to make sure of when you put a base plate on there, or like if you do put a new base plate on, whether it's ours or you make your own or whatever, also make sure that those screw heads are down below there, because we've had run across that as well, where guys made their own base plate and then they couldn't figure out what was going on, why they couldn't hold a line. Just make sure that everything is down below the surface of that. So make sure, and if these screw holes aren't quite deep enough, doesn't mean, like actually that one right there, that screw head, I think we actually hit that on our grinder just slightly, just to
wear on it, Ken. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, see how that's kind of flat on top? Not these three, but that one. I think we just touched it on the grinder or sander to make sure it was flat enough that it was down below the surface. So that's another thing. Oh, this is a suggestion that we get every once in a while. And if you guys... Can you come back up to me, babe? If you guys watch some of our older videos when we were actually, our studio was actually a plastic shed, and it was, if you look, it'll have a brick background behind me. That was actually a plastic shed, like a Rubbermaid shed. But it actually worked out pretty well. If you go back and watch some of those videos, you'll notice that when I was routing with my router, our actual my actual router cord went up. I actually plugged it in up above, kind of like this. And another thing that for me is a problem is any kind of restriction to keep me from keeping that router completely 100% control. Now you'll notice I take the cord and I put it in the vise to give myself enough slack. This actually is a really good way to do it. We actually have this plugged in. We have power now up above us, and I may do this, although I do all my carving now out on the patio, which is outside there. But anyway, that's something you might think about, is be able to plug your cord in up above. The other way you can do it is, I don't have one, but we used to have one. It was like a clamp that clamped here, and it was like a metal bar with and it was spring loaded, and you could actually clip your cord to that, and it acted kind of the same way. It would hold your cord up and out of the way and off the bench top. I may get one of those. We used to have one. I just don't know what happened to it. So that's another the thing is, you want to eliminate any issues with anything being an obstruction to that base sliding 100% obstruction free. You just don't want anything causing a problem. That's one of the reasons now that I don't do a lot of carving through paper or through the vinyl. I try to eliminate that when I can. Sometimes I still do it, but when I can get away from that, I like it, because that router base could catch on that tape or catch on that paper, and I just don't want any problems there. Let's see. When you do check your board, go ahead and take your base off, your housing off. And when you're checking for obstructions, don't put your router in there. Go ahead and just make sure that that thing is going to slide over the whole board. You never know, there might be some little knot or something like that that might be causing a problem. Of course, that's the side I wouldn't use. Okay, and another thing, and I just happened to notice this, if you look right there, there's a staple in the end of that. So make sure that when you're buying a material, make sure you take all those staples out so you don't hit them with your saw blade or your planer. Of course, I don't plane this stuff. I use just sanders, so that wouldn't be an issue there. What else? Gosh, there's something else. Awkward silence. What? Oh, yeah. So this is this is actually, thank you, assistant behind the camera. That's what I was forgetting. This is actually a piece of the 6 foot fencing. The actual dog-eared is on the other end. So this is 6 foot fencing. This actually is redwood, and like I say, I will use this stuff when I can, because it tends to be a little bit thicker, I don't know why, than the, at least from Lowe's, than the cedar that I use. So actually, I tried the redwood stuff several years ago, and it was junk. But it wasn't redwood. It had a redwood stain on it, and it was the worst of the worst. It was just horrible. But this stuff is actually pretty decent. I can get some really good boards, and it's not that expensive. I think it's only a few bucks per picket. So that's what I use for a lot of my small signs. I guess that's it. We've got so much coming up that I can't even talk about yet. But stay tuned, because we got a lot more coming. So I guess that's it for now. If this was helpful, please give us a thumbs up. We would love it. If you have any questions about this or anything else, be sure and email me, eric@makeawoodsign.com. I'm on Instagram every day, makeawoodsign. If you have any questions for Vicky, it's vicky@davesigns@gmail.com. And there is the channel in case you need it. That's the website in case you need anything from there. Gosh, that's it. We love you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.